We got Senator Robert Menendez now of New Jersey. He's the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, this is a murky political thing right now. I have always wondered, what kind of role would we play in the Syrian war right now, the Syrian civil war? What do we do? Do we try to topple that regime?
Well, Chris, there's a couple of items here. Number one is we obviously are concerned about chemical weapons, not only of obviously being used against the Syrian people, but about the security of those sites. And that's incredibly important to us. It's incredibly important to our allies like Jordan and Turkey in the region. Secondly, if we don't want to see the greatest humanitarian catastrophe continue to go on, we have to change the dynamics, because right now there is no tipping point that Assad believes that he can fall. So for so long as he has superiority in air power and in artillery, he's going to continue to try to stay in power. We have to think about, do we assist the vetted rebels, those individuals who we believe share our values? At the end of the day, do we assist them in a way that changes that dynamics? And thirdly, we have a growing extremist problem here in al-Nusra and also al-Qaeda, and they are growing in strength within Syria. That's a real challenge to our national interests as well. So if we continue to allow what is happening to take place, then we are only going to manifest a bigger problem at the end of the day.
Yeah, but if you're Assad, you're looking at Mubarak, who's in jail, probably for life if he's lucky and not executed. You're looking at Gaddafi, who ended up in a sewer pipe, or Saddam Hussein, who ended up in a spider hole. What is the future for Assad if he gives up? The people will lynch him, they'll torture him and his family and kill him. I mean, why should he give up? This is what I've never understood about all these demands from Secretary Clinton and all the secretaries. Why should he quit?
He's had a series of offers, clearly, that have been made to him. He can go live in Russia. He can find opportunities and elsewhere. He hasn't been willing to do that. And the Russians obviously haven't changed their own equation. They think that Assad might be able to hang in there. If, in fact, we harness all of our regional allies in that area, have a defined plan as to how we help the opposition, the vetted opposition inside of Syria, if we bring to bear an opportunity to have them change the tipping point, if we at the same time look at the opportunities to undermine the extremists and, by the way, undermine Iran, which is sending enormous amounts of assistance to Assad, then Assad's going to look and say, wait a minute, the dynamics change for me, and either I can ultimately find myself dead, or I can stay alive in someplace other part of the world.
Do you think we have the power and the ingenuity to turn that war around so that Assad loses?
I do. I do believe, we'd have to bring an international effort. Look, to believe that the Brits, the French, and the Israelis who came to this conclusion, and I understand why the administration wants to nail it down tight, because if you're going to go to the Security Council, you don't want to have a repeat of some of the history we've had, for example, in the war in Iraq. But by the same token, unless we're saying that others outside of Assad have control of chemical weapons, then the only entity that is likely to have used chemical weapons is Assad. And the question is, if he has his warplanes armed with greater amounts of those chemical weapons and sees himself in a moment in which he makes a decision tactically to go ahead and use it because the world is not responding, then you have a much greater consequence. And those are the tough challenges we're facing in making this decision.
Yeah, I just think we have to make sure we're right before we go in there. Thank you, Senator Menendez, Chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.